The book Animal Intimacies, Interspecies Relatedness in India's Central Himalayas by Dr. Radhika Govindrajan is a multi-species ethnography with different events and stories occurring between humans and non-human species, such as a goat, cow, monkey, pig, and bear. The author defines the concept of relatedness by Bantam, or knots of our connections tied to the lives of animals, so it helps us understand the tied relatedness between humans and non-humans. These connections create a shared mutual substance or kinship between species. The first chapter of Animal Intimacies, The Goat Who Died for Family Sacrificial Ethics and Kinship, the two questions asked are, what is the nature of the sacrificial connection between the one who sacrifices, the one who is sacrificed, and the one who accepts the sacrifice? And does sacrifice leave an imprint on everyday relationships that extend beyond the moment of ritual killing? To answer these questions, the author explores the sacrificial relationships between the caretakers and the goats by focusing on the methods of care and attention that stem from the different acts of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual labor between the two. We see the daily entanglement of the two lives and how they are affected by the shared relationship taking place in Uttarakhand, India. Next, the cow herself has changed. The author argues against the Hindu nationalist laws regarding cow protection, how taking on the symbol of the mother cow disregards the actual laws regarding animal welfare, and how this sparked acts of violence against anyone who failed to uphold the law. The chapter explores the interspecies relatedness of Hindu nationalist attempts where kinship between humans and cows may be imposed as an act of coercion on the people in the town of Uttarakhand, and studies the physicality of the actual cows, not just symbolic. We see the cultural beliefs of how the people believe that their relatedness to a certain breed of cow is a materially, symbolically, and effectively singular experience that cannot be duplicated with another different breed of cow, in this case, the Pahari cow versus the Jersey cow. In the third chapter, Outsider Monkey, Insider Monkey, villagers claim kinship with Pahari monkeys or mountain monkeys due to similar land displacement, trauma of neglect, and exclusion by outside forces from the towns of Haldwani to Pokuri. The author investigates the sudden appearance of outside monkeys that wreak havoc on their local fruit crops, terrorize the people and animals of the village, and how the villagers sympathize with their local Pahari monkeys while the outside monkeys infiltrate, which was believed to be part of a political ploy. The villagers soon learn to cope with the monkeys, and we learn what can be described as annoyed admiration for the monkeys. The villagers feel their forced extraction from one land to the next and acknowledge the innocence of what being an animal means in the human world. Next, Pig Gone Wild is a story of a pregnant sow that escaped the IVRI back in the 1960s. The town of Mukteshwar believes that the sow's babies kept reproducing with boars that soon started terrorizing the village. The author studies the other wild, which is correlated to colonialism, caste, and the differences in species and power. Going back to the bantam, or knots of entanglement between human and non-human species, these events show how the mix of people's livelihoods and how the boars affect them are connected and show their distinctive histories, and how they are trying to coexist with these tough animals that are protected under the Wildlife Act. The author connected the other wild to how the villagers see the boars, but also how the forest department workers view the villagers as wild beings that cannot have the license or power to shoot these predatory boars because it will lead them to extinction. Instead, the villagers found a way to allow the boars to stay wild by knowing to give them space. The fifth and final chapter, The Bear Who Loved a Woman, the intersection of queer desires, where a bear represents a being of the desires of a craved or wanted intimacy and discusses women's sexuality in places where it's often disregarded as taboo. The author asks, what about bears made them the choice for partner in this carnal interspecies encounter? How did bears become to be related to women as husbands? What in particular was it about embodied interspecies encounters between women and bears that allowed for the queer boundary crossing? It's important to note that in the beginning, the author clearly states that they are not trying to prove that humans and animals' intertwined relatedness does not make them one, but rather validates the emotions and intimacy between the humans and non-humans. and that's crucial to note the ontological differences between human and non human animals. For a majority of the book, there are more cultural themes than biological. However, in the last section about the bear who loved a woman, the author studies bear biology and characteristics of the behaviors of bears in the Indian region. The ethnographies approach the cultural practices shown in each chapter with a gentle dedication to understanding not just the human attachment, but the animals as well. Anthropologists levitate towards prioritizing human behavior, but for multi species, we draw connections between the others and us, and leave space for anyone who may be skeptical. Considering that I had to condense this very insightful read down to a short preview of the ethnographies, in my humble opinion, this is a must read for anyone interested in animal human connections. Overall, the chapters focus more on cultural practices and beliefs held in India, which could help cultural anthropologists understand more about Indian culture between multi species relatedness. Thank you for watching. This book can be found at the Wayne State University Library and the Detroit Public Library.